President Obama, who held a town meeting up in Nashville, New Hampshire today. Time Magazine's Mark Halperin is the co-author of the huge book, Game Change, about the last election. Newsweek's Howard Fineman is an MSNBC political analyst. Let's take a look right now at the president up there in New Hampshire.
The message you all sent when you elected me, the message that was sent this past month, is whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, you're out of patience. You're out of patience with this kind of business as usual. You want us to start worrying less about our jobs and more about your jobs. You want us to worry less about our election and more about solving your problems.
Well, something's working. The Gallup poll, which does daily tracking, shows the president's job approval has been heading upward the last few days. Look at it. At the very end, at the very right end of that, you see it going up to 51%. After all those months of coming down, that's the black chart line coming down, the black line coming down. The red one is his disapproval. Finally, disapproval is starting to tick downward. After all these months, Howard, it's finally turning around. Tactics. Maybe tactics are enough. You don't need strategy.
I think going over my notes of talking to White House people before and after the Massachusetts race. I think they decided after Massachusetts they were going to go after the Republicans. First of all, Obama's good at it. He was never a courtroom lawyer, but he looks good going after them the way he did in the Lion's Den last Friday. He looked good doing this. Second, the Democrats on the Hill are not popular. Get them out of the way. Attack the Republicans who are not popular. So it's a twofer for him. Get Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi off the stage and make it a one-on-one race between him and congressional Republicans. That's what he's trying to do.
Mark, you think it's possible that he can create a phantom bad guy, a bet noir, as you do in fiction, somebody out there to vote against besides him?
Well, he's got to do it. He's got to put the Republicans on the defensive. He tried very hard to do that. Look, they're 2 for 2, Friday and today. Great scheduling and staging by the White House, going to the House Republicans, going to New Hampshire, where it's got 2 House races up, a Senate race, a state that the politics, there's going to be a lot of focus and create energy. The only concern I have for him in terms of success and strategy, the AP said the president today, with one hand, he reached out to the Republicans. I'm looking for the sentence here. With one hand, he reached at them, but the other hand, he slapped them. The problem I think he has is, this is what they tried early in the administration when he was popular. Destroy the Republican Party, make them so weak they must surrender. They're not going to surrender. And I think from his point of view, success this year involves some bipartisan compromise. This is not the way to get it. This is going to make Republicans
Well, you know what? Here's a way he could do it. He tried a couple days ago to try to cut a deal. He got behind this idea of a commission to deal with long-term debt, deal with the entitlements, deal with all the issues Republicans care more about than Democrats do. And at the last minute, 7 of those Republicans dropped away and let the thing die. Here he is making them pay for their legislative gamesmanship. Here's the president taking them on, talking about the deficit commission that the Senate shot down last week.
The Senate blocked a law that I had supported to create a bipartisan fiscal commission that would come up with a set of recommendations for cutting our deficits in the long term. This law failed by 7 votes. When 7 Republicans who had co-sponsored the bill, had co-sponsored the idea, suddenly walked away from their own proposal after I endorsed it. So they make a proposal, they sign on to the bill, I say, great, good idea. I turn around, they're gone. What happened?
You know, I talked to somebody yesterday who really knows Massachusetts politics, and they said if he'd acted like this, if the country, the Democratic Party, had acted like this, they wouldn't have lost Massachusetts.
Well, I think that...
If they had smoked out Scott Brown, his voting record as a state senator, if they had made the focus not on his car or his good looks or the fact he hasn't done much, to what he has done as a politician, his long voting record on Republican issues, they could have beaten the guy.
I think that's the way they've decided. Clearly they decided that, because before Massachusetts, the president was still talking the inside game, making deals. Afterwards, clearly different, and I think they're going to take the gamble that Mark is talking about. This strategy now is really more like the fall of a campaign year. He's doing this awfully early, but I think they felt they had no choice because Mitch McConnell and John Boehner are just not going to cut any deals.
He's got to sharpen up his
So he's got to put the spotlight on him.
Let me tell you,
that's what he's trying to do.
He's the hot shooter. I used the basketball analogy. He's a basketball player. He's out of the game this weekend, but he can't shoot all the baskets. He needs some people around him shooting. He's got to sharpen up his cabinet. We had the OMB director on the other night. He's not a politician. Napolitano doesn't seem like much of a politician on the issues she's responsible for. He needs sharp, team members, and I don't know who they are.
Well,
Geithner's not a pal.
I still think
Biden is. He needs people out there shooting with him and working with him, and I don't see it.
I still think he needs a commander-in-chief on the economy. It can't be him. There has to be somebody who's like Norman Schwarzkopf every day on TV
or
saying,
John Connolly from the old days.
Right. Jobs are going to be created, and here's how we're going to do it.
A politician.
And it's a politician with someone sensitive about politics, but credibility with Wall Street and Main Street. He needs that. But again, I go back. Howard's right. This is the way he'd be acting if he were simply trying to win the midterms. I still don't understand how this helps his legislative agenda this year. He's right on the merits. The Republicans outrageously walked away from something they sponsored, but that's not going to make them come to the table.
He needs a cabinet packed with guys like, let's go for the list here. Eddie Rendell of Pennsylvania, Schumer, guys that are verbal, aggressive, know how to talk, and can talk to people who are middle road voters from the suburbs and say, here's the problems we face, we inherited it, here's what we're doing about it. It ain't perfect, but it's better than what those jokers are doing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Why doesn't he have people like that around?
And also,
they don't talk like that.
Also, where's Joe Biden? I mean, don't forget, this middle-class task force that they put together, where's that? Joe Biden was supposed to be somebody who could do some
carry the fire
of what Mark's talking about, but they are not giving Joe Biden any real online responsibilities. He's in the room, he's kibitzing in the room, he's not making any decisions. You can't put Larry Summers out there, you're right.
He's not
you can't put Geithner out there, you're right. You can't put Orszag out there, you're right.
A plan.
Where are the pals in this administration besides the president, vice president?
I love Joe Biden, but a plan that's predicated on putting him out regularly to talk is a plan that's got a lot of
well, let's
risk.
get some. Who are the sharpshooters in this administration?
I think the issue on which they need
I have never seen an administration with so few politicians in it.
The economy. It's the same problem Bush had. Name Bush's 3 Treasury secretaries. Go. You got to have somebody in that job at a time like this who can speak like they're in a war for jobs for America.
You know,
well, by default,
Ed Rendell would be great.
Yeah. By default, the president's doing it right now, and I think he likes doing it. I think he's got to worry about that a little bit. And the standard conservative criticism is that he's too self-involved, et cetera. I only take that halfway. He's very good at what he does, and he's showing how good he is at this kind of courtroom situation. But he can't do it all on his own.
Here he is. Let's take a look at the president here hitting Wall Street today. Let's listen.
I'm announcing a proposal to take $30 billion of the money that was repaid by Wall Street banks, now that they're back on their feet, take that $30 billion and use it to create a new small business lending fund that will provide capital for community banks on Main Street. You combine it with my proposal back in December to continue waiving fees and increasing guarantees for SBA-backed loans. All this will help small banks do even more of what our economy needs, and that's ensure that small businesses are once again the engine of job growth in America. I'm convinced we can make that happen.
It's a very small percentage of our GDP, that $30 billion, by the way. It's a small thing.
As you were pointing out, the law has to be, I think the Republicans are right. The law has to be changed to do that. But if I'm Obama and I'm thinking the way I think Axelrod and company are thinking now, they're saying, do it. Make the Republicans vote for it.
So the law says, the law says use the money to bring down the debt.
Or to pay back the TARP money. They're saying we're going to take some of this money in the cash drawer and give it to small business and small banks. Force the Republicans to vote against it. Mark might be right, and they're going to keep voting against everything. But I think what Obama, Axelrod, and Rahm are thinking of is let's design a series of votes that they don't dare say no to.
You know, in the military, they had the guy that gets out in front of the unit into the jungle and has to take the shots.
Right.
The second lieutenant, often, who gets the bullet.
Right.
We have a president of the United States, not just forget the ballistic warfare references. He's out front. He's now taken it. He's the leader of the Democratic Party, the Congress, the Democratic Congress, the whole shebang. He's out there fighting it out like he's the candidate. Isn't that dangerous?
Nancy Pelosi has a 7% approval rating. Harry Reid has a 3%. I mean, strongly positive rating in the NBC poll. That's part of the
There's no
Would you do that again, Howard? What did you just do? The hand gesture, strongly positive.
7% strongly positive for Harry Reid.
I've never seen quotations so exciting.
3% strongly positive for Harry Reid.
Look, there's no one else who can do it. Reid increasingly is going to have to worry about saving himself anyway.
Right.
The president has to do it.
Chris Dodd's retiring.
Right. There's nobody. And look, in the media landscape in which we live, he can still dominate when he wants to. And when he's this good, and when they schedule him this smartly, they win the day.
He still needs a balanced offense. He needs 4 or 5 people, men and women out there sewing it. He needs Bob Strauss. He needs John Connolly. He needs Eddie Rendell. He needs Schumer. He needs guys in the government. I'm sure Schumer's not joining the government, but he needs people like him anyway. Thank you, Mark.